morning and welcome. My name is Jess Jones. I am the center director here with the Coffer Resource Center, which is based in Chicago, Illinois. So wherever this meets you, wherever this greets you, welcome virtually to Chicago. And to my 3-year-old toddler who's telling me to shh right now. Working looks different these days, which is why I am, oh, and I've made her mad. I apologize, everyone. I hope I'm not making you mad. I hope you're excited to sit down with us. Working together looks different these days, obviously. And we all do what we can do. And this is why we get together in this space. Would you like to sit with me? I did tell you to be quiet because we're talking to all of the friends now. You know, we all have to get used to the fact that work looks different. And this is why this conversation series with Greta has been such a gift to me, because she hit that nail on the head immediately when she discussed wanting to create this space to find out where everyone's at, how they're doing, what they're doing, and where this work finds us through these unconventional working means. So without further ado, I'm going to invite my friend Greta to the page. I will say, if you haven't come to these series before or come to our events before, please subscribe to our newsletter. Coffer Headliner is at coffercenterchicago.com. There's a subscription button down at the bottom. We want you to come to these. Hopefully with future conversations, we won't have toddlers making cameo appearances. But Greta, it is so good to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good to see you.
I hope our unexpected guest didn't upstage both of us right now.
Good to see your little one. So let's see her face. She's so cute.
Hey, Jolie, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Look, you say good morning. Good morning.
So cute. So
no, but Greta, I thank you so much for having this conversation series, because you've really amplified the point, which is that we don't know what life and work looks like for anyone right now. I mean, we're not seeing each other. We're not in the same spaces that we've used to be. And we all have to work with what we've got.
right.
And today's conversation is with Judy Blue and Richard Shavzin, which I'm very excited to let you guys get to the conversation, hear what they've been up to. But thank you again, Greta, for this series and for this space and bringing this to the Coffer Center. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. And without further ado, I'm going to throw it over to you.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, Jess. Good morning and welcome to SoundCheck. I'm Dr. Greta Pope, and I'm so excited to have this opportunity to visit with creatives from a variety of disciplines about their professional journey. We are in the midst of a pandemic, as you know, that has changed all of our lives, and it's changed the ways in which we work. We will use this forum to share our thoughts, our feelings, and best practices for surviving this challenging time. Today, we are visiting with Chicago theater icons, Richard Shavzin and Judy Blue. Richard has won 2 Jeff Awards. Not only is he an actor and director, he is also president of Chicago Litigation Consultants, where he coaches attorneys and business execs in performance and communication skills. Richard is vice president of the SAG-AFTRA local board. He serves on the Central Regional Board of Actors Equity, and he sits on the executive board of the Illinois AFL-CIO. Welcome, Richard.
Hey, Greta.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah.
And, yeah, thanks for being with us. And Judy is a Chicago treasure. She has acted in and directed theatrical productions throughout the Chicago area and beyond. Her TV credits include Chicago Med and Chicago PD, among others. Judy's audiobook narration includes the Sleuth Sisters mystery series and the award-winning Myrtle Clover series. Judy is a proud member of Actors Equity and SAG-AFTRA. Welcome, Judy. Good to see you guys.
It's wonderful to see you, Greta.
Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you guys are here. You look great. Wonderful to see you too. You look rested, and you know, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're holding up.
Well, that's good. It's good.
On Zoom well.
Okay, so let's get started. I'd like you to tell us what your average work day is like. And I want to hear from each of you because I'm sure your days are different. And then I want to know if your work days have changed much during the pandemic. Richard, why don't you start?
Okay. Well, yes, things have changed enormously. First of all, strictly on a theater basis, that's all been in terms of, live, that obviously that's all gone. And the camera work, as most people know, is just starting to come back.
Mhm.
I think luckily, as a community, Chicago and Illinois were both so far ahead of the game until recently when the second wave hit big, that we were able to get something started before anywhere else in the country. They managed to get the 2 episodes of Fargo out, and the Dick Wolf shows are starting to come back. And the other kinds of work that I was mostly involved in, which is a lot of industrial corporate training things,
Yeah.
that some of it has come back a titch, but even when it has, it's obviously so much different. It's remote.
Yeah.
Right after COVID hit and we went into that initial lockdown, I think people were pivoting quickly because there were projects that were already on the books.
Yeah.
And they had to figure out a way to make it work.
Mhm.
So, for example, I have a client that does marketing for basically for big pharma, for pharmaceutical companies. And they had some things scheduled with doctors, sort of a individual focus groups, right? But it's targeted to a person. So I was on the phone for a couple of weeks, role playing a patient in a interaction with a doctor. They were hour-long sessions. I was on for the first maybe 5 or 6 minutes in a role play, and then they would sort of deconstruct and debrief for the rest of the hour with that person.
Mhm.
And that was a couple of weeks, and then that was done.
Yeah.
Frankly, since then, I've had a grand total of 2 gigs,
Yeah.
one of which was yesterday.
Oh, that's good.
And yeah, and it was for a different team of the same client. But what's nice is now they're sort of getting the hang of it,
Yeah.
and sort of figuring out what needs to be involved. So I'm able to reach out to, like, for example, a friend's, the green room has been very helpful.
Mhm.
And I've been able to recruit Sean and sometimes Michelle also, and use that as a pretty remote facility, right? There's only going to be the 1 or 2 of them, and then the 1 or 2 of the actors that are coming in.
Yeah.
I've been able to do another home one with a couple of actors who have a home set up.
Great.
And so it's few and far between, but I
Yeah.
think the takeaway is that everyone is figuring out how to make it work.
Yeah, I think that's right. We are learning new skills that we can take forward with
Right.
us.
Yeah, exactly. Now, some of the my traditional work, and you mentioned that I've been doing a lot of attorney training, that they've circled the wagons on, and they're not really coming out
Yeah.
at shifting from what used to be in person to an online version. I'm
Yeah.
trying to push them down that road a little bit, but that's still a little reticent.
Yeah. 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 Judy, how about you? What have
Uh,
the days been like?
so I am, of course, juggling plates just like everybody else. Let's see, spinning plates, juggling. That um, like everybody does, and I would say time management is my big thorn, because during this pandemic, I found I went into major learning curve. I found myself editing a film, which I'd never done before. So I threw myself into Premiere Pro and went, "Oh, okay," with a lot of help from my
Wow.
friends.
That's
And
great.
so that was fun,
Mhm.
fun and tough.
Yeah.
So that took a lot of the early pandemic. I really spent a lot of time there. I had one audiobook to finish. This pandemic also kicked me in the ass to go get that studio done in my closet.
Good for you. I was
And-
going to ask you about that later. That's great.
So, and I find that there are so many people now they've gotten that done. They got their mic, they got their stuff, that normally would have relied on their agents, or coming to the Coffer Center to record. And I'm so grateful because it's demystified the whole process for me. And so you asked about the day. So the day starts out with the intention of exercising. I do not do that.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Yeah. So that happens sometimes later in the day. So that's the thing. Then I immediately go to the email. I have another company that's a promotional marketing group, Double Take Promotional Marketing. So I spend about an hour on that. Then I go straight for the audiobooks. Look at emails. I've got a publisher that I'm working with now. I started a company called Blue Audio Narration. So I've got other people who are actually doing voices for me, which is great.
Oh, that is great.
So so that's a juggle. And then of course, all the other things that we do, the facilitation, the coaching, the SP work that a lot of us have. It's all about Zoom.
Not everybody knows what SP is.
That's okay. That's one of those actor jobs that it is a beautiful community of people now with all these medical schools, standardized patient work. People have been carrying it on for years and years and years. And every time you say, oh, I'm going to let that go. I don't need to do that. You come back to it because once again, it's acting and it's communication skills. And now the medical schools are truly appreciating what we can offer as communicators. And so you really do feel like you're giving back. So it's a different day with all of that. And now all of us are absolutely masters of Zoom. It feels like, so that's great. And I have a best practice.
Okay.
Best practice I found when some of us were lucky enough to get this gig with Northwestern Mutual facilitating some of their speakers. Ethernet cable. Ethernet cable, plugging in with an Ethernet cable to your Wi-Fi instead of using Wi-Fi. Plugging that into the router is the only way we've been able to really do a great Zoom meeting with no interference. So that's my best practice.
Yeah, that's a great best practice. That's good. Wow.
We are becoming our own engineers in large measure.
Yeah.
And that might end up being one of the lasting effects.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, some places will go back into come to our facility to do this work.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's going to go. But I think a measurable percentage are going to say, wait a minute now, this is going to save us X amount of money, which we should be aware of. And jack up, we're doing extra work now. Now, we're not going to get our salary plus full engineering money in the grand scheme of things, but it's going to find its own level. And that might be a permanent effect of what we've learned how to deal with during COVID.
You're right. I think that's very likely true, because when you think about the real estate that, is involved in these studios and in all of these other kinds of businesses, that people are now seeing maybe we don't need all of this real estate that we have. So I think it's going to be very interesting, from law offices to medical offices to all kinds of things. So, it'll be very interesting to see the fallout after this, I think.
It will. And yet I keep hoping that because we miss each other so much, that we just run to offices when we're able to all be.
And I think that's a very good point. You're right. That probably, I think that probably will happen to some degree. But I think also, I actually know of a corporation that shall remain nameless, but they've already sold 2 of their buildings. I mean, this is a big corporation. They've sold them. They've given up rental space, because they find that they just don't need it. They don't need it. People are happy working from home. And once we're able to actually get out and enjoy ourselves and work from home, I think people will like that, you know, a lot more. Or when you can work from home and send your child to daycare or to school or whatever, you know. So I think there are a lot of things to see about what life will look like once we move forward.
Well, we know that the children and the pets are enjoying it, and I'm so grateful that Jess's assistant came on.
Too, and she's so cute. And she had her little earphones on. I mean, she was, you know, she was ready for business.
Yeah, she's working. She's great.
Absolutely. Okay, so now, do you guys schedule certain activities for particular days, or do you just do things as they come up? You know, most of us creatives cobble our careers together in some way or another. So, you know, how do you, I know, Judy, you talked a little bit about time management, but how do you manage your time? You know, I spoke with a guy several weeks ago. He says on Mondays and Tuesdays, he does this particular thing. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, he does this particular thing. And I was, you know, I was very impressed and thinking, why am I not doing that? And this guy was an artist, you know, he's a band leader, you know, so it was very impressive. So I'm just wondering if you guys have any kind of schedule like that in the way that you're doing things.
She has more of a schedule than I do because of the standardized patient work. She has a quasi day gig with the promotional marketing company.
Yeah.
I'm sort of the opposite. I fill in, you know, I've got meetings. I have, as you well know, with, you know, with some of the union activities. You know, for example, right before this, I had a call with the deputy governor through the state AFL-CIO about the vaccine distribution, for example.
Yeah.
And so, okay, brand new. I haven't even posted this yet there. But, you know, that's how that's going to start happening, right? For example, every state has their own distribution system. And then the largest cities, by the way, I guess this is some breaking news, have their own. So Chicago, the city of Chicago will have its own vaccine distribution system, totally separate from the rest of the state.
Wow.
Completely separate. And we can go on frontline workers and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, things like that. So once I have those scheduled in, and we had our, for example, our Coffer Center board meeting yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. So those go on the calendar, and then everything else sort of gets put in around that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if and when work comes up, that trumps everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more of a catch as catch can. She's a tad more structured.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that breaking news about the vaccines. That's great.
I know,
it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're getting firsthand information here. It's good.
And for the record, we're going to get the Pfizer version as opposed to the Moderna because the storage, Chicago has enough facilities where you can do that storage because it has to be stored at 80 degrees below zero.
Yeah.
And the more rural areas will get the other one that doesn't have to be kept as cold.
That's good planning. Yeah, that's great.
A lot of facts. That's a lot of facts we got just.
A lot of facts, and we heard it first here, huh? Yeah, it's good. So Judy.
So yeah, I think this time management thing is big. We know it's big for all of us because we do have so many things. And yes, I do have some structured time. I think that's true. We put in those absolute appointments into our schedule. And then we work around that. I find I have to do a little of everything every day. So I wish I could do that. Oh, on Tuesday and Wednesdays, I do this, and Wednesday, I can't because I'm working with a team, or I'm working with other artists, and everybody has their own schedules, and everybody else has a deadline. So I know the best thing to do would be to unplug and just do the audio work for 2 hours a day, then go to the other work for an hour a day, the other work for an hour a day. That's my goal, is to just pull it apart like that. And I will say that Richard and I were working from home anyway before the pandemic. So gratefully, we didn't change anything. We were already doing it. And it's just that we couldn't go run away to the coffee shop anymore or, do that. Um, so the challenge, I think, personally, is to give yourself that personal time and make it something that is a priority.
Mhm.
At the beginning of the pandemic, my dear friends were inviting me to yoga groups, and which I was really trying to do. I was doing a lot of yoga at the beginning, and now that's kind of gone away as I've continued to fill my schedule, and I can feel the lack of that. I can feel it up here. I know it's not good. And the uh, Brenda Fournier has a Bemoved class that a lot of us, Susie Petrie is a part of that, that we do every Wednesday. And I'm finding that I'm dropping that
Yeah.
a lot because of other things. And I think to hold on to that stricture, to hold on to that for yourself
Mhm.
is more important than we think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that all kind of goes back to discipline. I know for me, I mean, if I were able to say, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that, and I have the best intentions. Yeah, but I just don't, I'm not always able to adhere to my intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. I mean, I think we do need to just recognize that this is a very stressful time. I think we've all just been forging ahead, just trying to figure out how to make it work. And I do think that once it's over, we will sort of look back and think, oh my gosh, how did we make it? I did one performance in September for the Alliance Française,
Oh,
outdoors, and small audience. It was lovely in their courtyard. And as I was singing, this woman was just crying and crying. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could really relate to that. She was so happy to be out, to be hearing music, to, just, it's a burden, I think, that we have not fully grasped at this point.
it's so
Yeah.
so true. I was wondering if you were able to get out and actually perform outside or do some things, because that would just be awful if we weren't hearing you, if we were
Oh,
not
well,
hearing you.
thank
Mhm.
you. Well, I just had the one. The rest of the time I've been in Michigan with my husband, just kind of taking it easy. And I have a podcast now, and I've been doing things. But performing has not been one of them. And and it has been challenging. But I was so moved by this woman. People just, they need the human touch, the human interaction. Zoom is great, but we need so much more.
I actually was at a performance. This is midsummer, I think, in Skokie. If you know the Skokie Theater on Lincoln,
Yeah.
they have a big parking lot right next to them, and they did a little like a piano cabaret
Cool.
in the middle of the summer,
Nice.
distanced, by the sidewalk squares. They had
Yeah.
chalked off. And
Yeah. Yeah. I think, during the summer, I think we did have a little bit of levity because we were able to be outdoors. But I think the levity that we have now, though, is the promise of this vaccine. I mean, I think,
Oh.
we're going into another long winter, but we have, we know that it's coming. So there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Especially for the theater, because
Yes.
obviously camera work's going to come back first.
Yeah.
Much easier to control when you
Yeah.
don't have to deal with an audience. And streaming is great, and it's been a nice outlet for theaters to be able to stream archived things, to get some
Yeah.
not only some income, but also just to keep them in the minds and the awareness of their audience and their subscribers.
Yeah.
And the streaming is great, but and I'm going to be a little, I don't know, narrow here, but it's awesome, but it ain't theater.
Yeah. Well, that's right.
It ain't going to be theater until there's a full audience again, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
A vaccine is widely distributed, and even then I think people are going to be a little hinky.
I
For
think you're right.
it. So
I think
we're
you're right.
some ways off.
Yeah, sitting shoulder to shoulder with a stranger. I think it's going to be a while before people are willing to do that.
And I cannot wait.
Yeah.
The whole gag about all I want to do is hug a stranger.
Yeah. You're right.
There's some truth in that. Yes.
Some truth in that. You're right. You're right. So Richard, tell us about your Chicago litigation organization and how long have you been involved with it, and how did you get involved with it?
Well, I mean, that exact company I created, I just,
so you're the founder of the company.
Yeah, 15 years ago, something like that. But I had been for a long time. I mean, a lot of actors, like Judy said, a lot of actors do the standardized patient with medical schools.
Yes.
I was doing what they used to call mock trials, and that kind of work as a young actor back in the early mid 80s, shortly after I moved to Chicago. And then it sort of morphed over time, and I began working with a national litigators group and Northwestern University, which is still a client. And then over time, they asked me to find actors to do that.
Wow.
And it just morphed, and it's been word of mouth.
That's great.
And it was sort of something that I was like, when it happened, it was great. It wasn't a full pursuit.
Yeah.
And that's changed a little bit over the last few years too.
Yeah.
So it's basically going in and training sometimes students, usually young attorneys and business people.
Mm-hmm.
Just presentation skills and communication skills to start with, how to be effective at that. And then within that, certainly in the legal community, it's how to be a better lawyer.
Okay.
Specifically a litigator.
Yeah. Persuasiveness.
Yeah, and in some ways there's specific techniques that they get taught.
Okay.
And it's really, and I've got about maybe 40 or 50 actors in Chicago over the years, and the work has shrunk obviously now, so there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
And maybe another 40 or 50 around the country in other cities, because I have clients with offices all over.
That's great.
And on the sort of on the plus side, you hear every lawyer joke ever done, offline. Let me some of them, but it's great work. It's all on pause right now.
Yeah.
Because they can get their required training, just like doctors and other professions. Lawyers have to have so much professional development classes every. I think they have to have 30 hours every 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And they can do that online. So nobody's doing it in person right now.
I see. Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's sort of on hold. But
yeah. And would you go in, with the university, would you go into the classroom, or how were you doing it, or where were you?
Yeah, the university actually, it's only Northwestern that's a regular client, and it's actually kind of fascinating. We bring actors specifically into their ethics class.
Okay.
And it's an ethics class. They have a module that's set up for litigators as opposed to transactional lawyers.
Okay.
And in this one, actors come in and present ethical dilemmas as clients. We play clients. We say, I want you to do this.
That's great.
And they have to decide whether it's ethical or not. And it's normally a lecture class, and they divide the lecture into about 10 times a year. They divide them into, say, 5 sections, and 5 actors will go in these little rooms, and a couple play your lawyer, and they interview you, and they say, what do you want? And we say, well, I want you to do this. And then somebody else in the room plays a senior partner that they have to consult with.
Okay.
Someone else in the room plays a prosecutor. There's something called the Attorney Disciplinary and Registration Committee, and they prosecute malfeasance and corruption on the part of any, attorneys and state and judges. And so someone plays the prosecutor, someone plays their defense lawyer, and the rest of the students are the panel. So we go in and we do our exercise, and we say, I want you to do this, this, and this. And they say, either okay or I can't do that for the ethical reasons or whatever. And we get all done and we leave. And then the student playing the prosecutor says, all right, I'm bringing you up on these charges, these ethical charges, and the hearing is the next class.
Wow. Wow.
And it's an absolutely fascinating program. I think they're the only program in the country and the only law school in the country that does this. I think. I'm not 100%.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Great.
It's
Wonderful training.
As an actor,
no.
and as an actor, being a part of it, I think all of us enjoy it a lot because we really try to push our characters to the limit, which is, we're trying to give them some real value add,
Yeah.
bringing in actors. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we're emoting all over the place, and we want to push them to
Yeah.
get
That's
sanctioned.
wonderful.
Eh,
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
So Judy, tell us about your audiobook narration. That is so exciting. How long have you been doing narration? Tell us about the Sleuth Sisters Mystery Series and the Myrtle Clover series and the awards that you've won. It's wonderful.
Thank you. That I just was invited into this initially many years. Actually, it has been many years ago, but by Cerny America. Joby was started doing this,
Yeah.
and was working with them and coming in, recording it. Didn't have to do anything but show up, and those guys made sure everything was taken care of and didn't have to do anything. And it was a joy because, we're working with all those guys. And then, of course, when then I started going out to Tim Cerny's studio once Cerny had let that space go. Joey let that space go, and so I was going out to his studio out way out in the suburbs, and then realized this. And I think it was the pandemic that when I can't go there.
Yeah.
I can't. This is all a little nutty. I've got to be able to do this myself.
Yeah.
Everyone else does. There's a lot of people out there doing that have great studios at home. There's a lot of people doing audio narration right now, through ACX, just basically jumping in. Not even, there's a lot of people with great contracts, with publishers, but wow, just the amount of SAG-AFTRA people and non-union people who are going into ACX and just auditioning and grabbing those books. Wow.
It's
What
great.
a surge that
It's
has
great.
been.
Wow. So now with your studio, with your home studio, tell us about it. Is it kind of a corner of a room, or is it a closet, or is it a room of itself, or how are you doing that?
Oh, Greta, it's a closet. It's a closet. I do have a nice walk-in closet here, so it was large enough. It's not like a tiny one. It is a walk-in closet, so I'm in the back. And Richard and I got this, some padding and things that we had that worked. Actually, it was a mattress protector. I don't mean that mattress, the 3-inch mattress.
Yeah, the pad or whatever. The padding.
Yeah, right. Can't think of it. We put that up all around the walls, and then Norm Boucher had posted some great piece of equipment that he was using that I grabbed that was nice just to put the microphone in, and that's working. I closed the door. I'm good.
That is fantastic.
No muss, no fuss. I didn't spend the big bucks on the walls or anything. Later I will be able to invest in that.
If you feel that you need to, you might not need to,
You know what it is, though? It's so impressive to see all the great seminars, webinars that you all have been doing, and with all the pros in their, in their gorgeous studios. So, it's a goal. It's a goal. So.
And in both, what's been interesting also is not only, that was pretty much literally a mattress cover and a roll of Gorilla Tape, and go. But we're both also on the side, and it's horrible timing, we're both dealing with elderly mother issues.
Oh, yes, you were mentioning that yesterday. Yes.
So we just came back from a month with her mom in Texas, which meant that Judy had to set up a studio in the closet there, quite seriously.
Yeah.
But, one Ethernet cable and, a portable mic and, a bunch of clothes to suck up the sound.
That's
And
good.
we're learning how to do this from anywhere.
That's wonderful. It's
So I
wonderful.
have a setup there and a setup here. I bought another Shure mic for that house. Got myself all set up, and
Great.
so that's what I had planned on. But you gotta, just like everybody is doing during this pandemic, you gotta be loose. You gotta be inventive,
That's right.
and just go and
That's
don't
absolutely
let anything stop you.
That's
Just
right. Just jump in and just swim and hope for the best and change your course if you need to once you've jumped in. And
right.
you're right. I mean, that's everybody's trying to just make it.
And
Go ahead.
What I'm finding too, it's like during this time period, maybe a lot of us are not making the kind of money that we were hoping to make in our chosen profession.
Yes.
But it is so very important that we stay true to who we are,
Yes.
and who are you when you are in the zone?
Yeah.
Get back to that zone.
Yeah.
And even if that's the thing you do after you do whatever job you've had to pick up to pay the rent right now,
Yeah.
then do it. Just keep that up, because I'm so very grateful that that people have given me opportunities to work, or I have made some opportunities to work. That networking to be able to work, so helpful. So no, maybe we're not making as much money on doing the work with all our TV shows right now or anything else, but we have to stay with it and just stick with it so that we feel good, because man, it's easy to get depressed right now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, we need to stay with it so we feel good, and stay with it so when things improve, we're able to pick back up and move forward.
And with new skills, because
With
that's what I'm
new
finding.
skills.
Everybody's got new skills that they're able to throw at.
That's right.
Everyone's bringing more confidence to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I mean, this has been a horrible time, but there are a lot of good things coming from it.
Yeah.
So speaking of, what have you guys been doing during the pandemic to sustain yourselves emotionally?
A weekly game night.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
With it's the ringleader is a playwright friend and his wife, who actually recently moved to Wisconsin, but who cares at this point? It doesn't matter. It's all online. We have discovered that not only can you successfully do charades, which is just like normal charades, but Pictionary on Zoom, because Zoom has a whiteboard feature.
You betcha.
Oh, yeah.
Is remarkable. So we did that. We do that every Saturday night. I'm getting together with my cousins. I grew up, there were 20 of us first cousins. My dad was the youngest of 8. And there's 15 of us still around. And almost all of us get together once a month.
That's wonderful.
On Zoom, which is, and some of them are people, as we have gotten older and older, you don't see each other quite as much all over the country, of course.
Yeah.
So that's been good. This is kind of weird. We have very typical Chicago, what they call railroad apartment, goes from the street to the alley, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd be amazed how many steps you can get in without leaving your apartment.
That's great.
And we discovered that by accident once, because how many steps we we were out someday, and Judy said, how many steps did we do? And so I looked on my phone and I had the wrong day, and I was like, it was still at like thousands and thousands. I was like, we never left.
That's wonderful. That's great.
It's a,
He paces as he's on the phone.
that's
Listen,
true.
he's
I
on-
do.
My husband does that too. I think it's a guy thing.
And maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
They got motor skills. Go on. Make
I think so. I think so. So
So-
Judy, so what have you been doing to sustain yourself emotionally?
I think, and it's not always successful. I got to tell you, I know for sure the connection with friends right now is amazing, and that people reach out and just kind of give permission to just text at will anytime, get on a Zoom anytime. There are so many friends that I wish I wish I was connecting with right now that I have every intention to get in there with too, but I'm just amazed at how many groups will connect and want to connect on a regular basis. So that feels really healthy.
Yeah.
It's saying, okay, every Friday, happy hour every Friday, for an hour. We may drink, we may not drink, but it's not required. But that is healthy. And that's what this silly Zoom, I hope he's making billions, because that's definitely what it's afforded us. And I find people are really giving more of themselves and saying what's on their minds a lot more. And that is really healthy. And yes, I wish I was, and I know for sure the exercise is absolute. I finally bought myself a bike. Haven't that was down in Texas though. So I know that that's for sure, that the exercise and
the fresh air. Yeah.
Dance, yoga, whatever you can do is everything.
Yes.
So, and I, like I said, I'm not always successful with that. So that's my my goal.
Yeah.
Is to jump in, and I lose sight of it, and I get depressed. And I'm sorry, I need some water. But thank you.
Coffee.
Thank you, babe. But every morning, I put that right back in my head. Get those shoes out by the door, get your clothes ready to go, do that thing. So, hope springs eternal.
That's right. That's right. Hope certainly does spring eternal. And I think, one of the things that I've found to be so important about this time is that I and everyone that I've spoken with really have gained a new appreciation and gratitude for what they have. Not I need this or I want that, or but gratitude for what they have. And I think when we go back to some sense of normal, we will have such a different perspective on life, and that's a great thing.
Oh yeah. Anything to change our culture. We got shaken up.
Yeah.
Culture got shaken up a little.
Brought to our knees. Yeah.
It has definitely put things into very stark relief in terms of priorities.
Yeah, you're right.
And possibilities, because I've noticed not only did we have a political season where everybody and his bastard uncle was asking for money for XYZ, and then we're right into the holiday, right? And then spend Black Friday, Cyber Monday, even Giving Tuesday, which is about giving to not-for-profit, whatever charitable inclinations are. Well, when you haven't worked in what's going on a year, right? It really puts that into a really fascinating perspective for me. I found myself starting to get resentful.
Yeah.
With all of the asks, and I'm like, don't you people know what the hell is good?
Right.
And then I have to, and then of course the next thought is, well, yeah, of course, some people, there's a bunch of people still working. There's a bunch of people that, in our orbit, that are still working and haven't really had the interruption.
Right.
But, for so many of us, it's that kind of disconnect. And I found myself being hyper aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that may now sustain through, whatever kind of, permanence this is going to, or not, that it's going to end up, with once we get back off the pandemic.
Yeah, it's something. So what? And I want to hear from each of you. What advice would you give to others who are struggling during this time? I know we've talked about exercise. We've talked about, getting together with friends on Zoom and so forth. But is there any other advice that you would give to people?
Wow. I think the advice recently that I received that was so very helpful, it was, wow, from a friend of mine whose family is dealing with some big issues, big health issues, etc., was that to remember how very strong you actually are. How incredibly strong you actually are. I mean, look at us. Any of us who are in this profession, professions that we're all a part of in this union and the extended union, we have been so strong to make it as far as we have.
Right.
And we are resilient.
Yeah.
And we are strong, and we can do this. We can do this pandemic. We can do this. We look at the worlds that we have created in our lifetimes. I just, that was so helpful for me, for her just to kind of give me a good slap in the face and say, you are as tough as F,
Yeah.
You are so tough, and believe it.
And believe it. That's great advice. That's great advice. Richard, how about you? Any advice?
I guess two things. First of all, it has, and not everybody has this issue, but don't be afraid to seek help, because we're so conditioned, not only just in how we're socialized, but especially in our profession, our basic industry of, hey, it's brutal out there, right? It's dog eat dog. And that's the good times, right?
Yeah, you're right.
That's when things are working the way they should.
Yeah.
So there are paths, and there are organizations, and there are lists, and whatever it is, avail yourself of that is number one. And number two, if you find yourself with extra time because you're not working, or you have issues because of what's going on, change it. Get involved. I don't care if it's your neighborhood block club, or obviously in our either or both of our unions, or your political organizations that are going to try to affect some change, especially now. Give a shit, do something. Make a change. You may never have this opportunity again.
You're right. These are unique times. That great advice, you guys. I just want to thank you so much for being with us today. It's so nice to hear the perspectives of different people, and just to check in, make sure everybody's doing okay and all well.
Thank you so much for asking us, Greta. This has been absolutely great. And just the program itself is a really great take on how to deal with what's going on at the moment. So thanks for doing this.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I derive a lot of benefit from it myself, to hear other people's perspectives and advice and so forth. So it's really great. I'm going to invite Jess back. Were you going to say something, Judy? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Well, I was going to give another shout out to the Coffer Center too, that this is
Absolutely.
to always know that, to what Richard was saying, even the reach out in any way. It's like the Coffer Center has always been a place. Well, if nothing else, when we were out of the pandemic, I could always go to the Coffer Center.
Yes.
I could always just go there and feel like there's possibility.
Yes.
And that's, and still, because you guys have made yourself so present online, there's still that, because it's easier said than done than to know where to go, where to reach out. So anyway, I truly appreciate
A real shout out to Jess and to Henrique. You guys have done just a wonderful job and continue to do a wonderful job in providing all kinds of opportunity and information for members and people outside of the union. So we thank you.
Thank you guys. You guys bump, set, and spike me right there. You guys just set me up so good. Thank you guys. No, I mean, and I was thinking of ourselves when we put out our Giving Tuesday email, Richard, because the consciousness of how deep this impacts our sector, this current circumstance, and how many layers of the onion it goes in. And when we put that together, it was pretty pointed to also make the point that if you're not in the position to give of your finances, you could give of your resources, because we put out a link to sign up to our volunteer reader list. And that list also includes people that are willing to edit, people that are willing to coach or give feedback, things like this. And I think that is one of those things that I think Greta holds a candle to the same purpose, which is connecting with each other. And we use the means we have. They're not the ones we want, but they're the ones we've got. And they're more than what we used to have. And there's a lot of, I've often said to people trying to figure out how to self-tape, there's a lot of ways to cook an egg, but right now the benefit we get from helping each other is that we are giving, even when we think we might have that disparity mindset of I don't have, you do have, you are the gift, and you have creative resources that can still be tapped just in unconventional contexts. And so I'm so grateful for this space, because this is a manifestation of that exact kind of thing, that we wouldn't have a dedicated weekly space to have Greta lead these conversations were it not for what was happening outside. And for those that are listening, if you haven't seen our previous conversations, we also have those on our YouTube channel. You could just look up Coffer Center on YouTube. They're also archived on our Facebook page. This one will be there as well if you want to go back and replay anything that you heard today, or tell your friends to join us for the next one. And I'm going to turn to you, Greta. Can you remind me who you have sitting in the chair with you next week?
Mike Ward and Kathleen Lawler.
Oh, Mike and Kathleen. There you go. So that'll be another good conversation. So if you haven't registered for next week, feel free to head back to the Zoom and have a front row seat for our next conversation. And I'm so grateful to you guys for being here today and making space and time to do this. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invite. We had a blast.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, you guys take care. Have wonderful holidays.
To the audience.
Go ahead.
Yes, exactly what Greta says. Everyone take care. Wonderful holidays. Be well. Be in good health. Reach out to us if we could be a resource to you in the meantime. You could get a hold of us through coffercenterchicago.com. We're here in the trenches with you. And one of the things Richard didn't mention that's on his regular calendar is coffee on Wednesdays. We do something called Wake Up Wednesdays. So if you actually want to be part of the conversation in an active and not passive way, I will tell you that I will call you out and make you turn your camera on if you try to be quiet, because I want to know you're there. I want to know you're there. We want to see each other. We want to be together. So if you are longing for that space, that is every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central. We do that on Zoom. It is literally I do not look anything like this when I show up. Richard can attest to that. I'm normally in my pajamas with a sweatshirt. So just know that is the space where you come as you are, so feel free to join us. And yes, back to you guys again. Thank you so much for being here. Be safe, be well, be healthy, be sane as much as you can, help it. And thank you for sharing your voice of the conversation today.
That's great. And yes, I will see you on Wednesday as per usual.
I'll see you for coffee, Richard. And Greta, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jess. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Judy. Take care. Bye-bye. Happy holidays.
Bye.
You too.
Bye, everyone.